Right. Good afternoon. I guess it's good afternoon, just slightly afternoon. I've been asked to open this meeting as the chair. An item later on the agenda is to appoint a chair and a vice chair for the RPIC committee. So in the interim, I will be operating this meeting as chair. So we're going to call this meeting of the TRPA Regional Plan Implementation Committee to order. The date is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. It's 5:12. First item on the agenda is a roll call to determine a quorum. Maria?
Ms. Aldine,
Here.
Ms. Dis,
Here.
Ms. Gustafson, here, Ms. Hill, Mr. Honigman.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll now go over the remote and in-person meeting rules for the day. For the members of the public who are joining us remotely, to observe the meeting, go to trpa.gov. Under the calendar header, click on Governing Board Hybrid Meeting for January 25th, 2023. There you will find a link to the public webinar hosted on Zoom. To address committee members directly with your comments, raise your hand in Zoom by clicking Raise Hand at the bottom of your screen at the appropriate agenda item. With your hand raised, you will be unmuted by TRPA staff and have 3 minutes to address the committee. If you have used the dial-in numbers to join us by telephone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand and be unmuted. To remote committee members, if you wish to speak, please also raise your hand in Zoom. You will find a hand icon on the bottom of your screen. Remote committee members may not use the chat box to make any comments or to have sidebar conversations. Please, everyone, remember to mute your mic unless speaking to cut down on background noise. Finally, I would also like to ask that all remote members turn on their cameras, and I see Jessica and Ashley turn on their cameras during the course of the meeting. Committee members who are in person, please raise your hand if you wish to comment and speak clearly into the microphone in front of you. If you are viewing the webinar on a personal computer, please ensure that your microphone and speakers are turned off to prevent audio feedback into the room. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. John, any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, no changes.
Okay, thank you. Then we will deem the agenda approved as posted. We are now on item number 2, approval of the minutes. We have a set of minutes from December 14th, 2022 on page 25 of your packet. I have submitted a few clerical changes to Maria, who will become part of the record. Nothing significant, nothing substantive. Do any other members of the committee wish to make a change? No, okay, all right. Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We are now on agenda item number 3, election of an interim chair. Well, as a reminder to the public, after committee discussion of this item, you may raise your hand in person to be called on, or in the Zoom webinar to be unmuted by TRPA staff to share your comments.
Madam Acting Chair, can I nominate you to be the interim chair until we get to our full committee meeting next month?
Boy, I've never had so many titles. This is fabulous. Yes, I'd be happy to serve for the rest of the meeting.
The rest of the meeting today.
And you get a 10% pay increase over what you're getting paid now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10% of nothing is still nothing. Okay, so is there, we'll just do a vote. Could we have to do a roll call, John? Can we just do a voice vote? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Onward.
Okay, we will now go to, we have public comment on this item. We will now go to public comment. If any member of the public wishes to address the committee on this agenda item, please raise your hand now, either in person or by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or by dialing *9 on your phone, and you will be called on and unmuted by a TRPA staff member. So if you're tired of seeing my face at these meetings, you may object. This is your time to object. Seeing very few people in the audience with us, unless Jim Lawrence would like to make a parting comment. He's ignoring me. Catherine, anyone on Zoom?
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised online to comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Then we will close public comment. And I think we've kind of done this backwards, but so what do you want to do, John? We've already made a motion of voicemail, or voicemail. We've also taken one voice vote to make me the interim chair, and that was before we entertained public comment. Is that an
But hearing no
egregious-
public comment, I'll reiterate my
Okay.
motion
All right, thank you. All right, and the motion is,
to have you act as interim chair for the rest of today's meeting.
okay, thank you. All right. Have a motion. Let's go ahead and have a voice vote. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to agenda item number 4, possible recommendation to approve an amendment to Douglas County's South Shore Area Plan to allow religious assemblies as a permitted use in the Tahoe Mixed Use Zone. Information on this agenda item can be found on page 507 of your packet. As a reminder to the public, after committee discussion on this item, you may raise your hand in person to be called on in Zoom or to be unmuted by a TRPA staff member. Jacob.
Good afternoon, committee members. Jacob Stock, Senior Long Range Planner with TRPA. Depending on if we have the technical difficulties figured out, I'll either be teeing up or providing a presentation on behalf of Douglas County staff about a proposed amendment to the county South Shore Area Plan. Now, this was an informational item at your last meeting, so you may recall that the county is proposing to change religious assemblies from a special use to an allowed use in the Tahoe Mixed Use Zone here along Lower Kingsbury. Staff have reviewed the findings of the findings and the initial environmental checklist and found the amendment to have no significant environmental effect and to be in conformance with the regional plan. Additionally, this amendment is important to ensuring the area plan's conformance with federal law. Following committee member and public comment, I'll ask you to make a recommendation to the governing board. Again, staff recommends adoption or approval of this item. Should you choose to recommend this amendment, we will bring the item before the full governing board later today to consider final approval. And with that, let's see if Kate Morales O'Neill of Douglas County is on the line. Kate?
And by the way, the page reference I made during the introduction of 507 is less comprehensive than the staff report prepared for the full governing board, which is on page 315 of your packet.
Jacob, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect, great. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I think it's afternoon now, so thank you all for your time today. I will briefly go through this. I know we're crunched for time, so we're going to go through this presentation pretty quickly since you've seen it. I also have with me Cynthia Gregory, Douglas County Deputy DA, on the line with us today to assisting with the presentation. So we want to provide the background and staff recommendation to assess and recommend approval for a zoning modification in the TMU Tahoe Mixed Use Zoning District. Again, currently religious assemblies require a special use permit, and we believe that it is imperative that we eliminate the need for a special use permit. Next slide, please. In November of 2021, a synagogue located in the TMU zoning was required to get a special use permit in order to hold their religious assemblies. While staff was processing the application, it became apparent that the definition of religious assembly and membership organizations were very similar. So both of these definitions promote the interest of its respective group, and both are consistent with the zone's use. Next slide, please. Staff also discovered religious assembly use is entirely consistent with the Tahoe Mixed Use Zoning District, which specifically allows public service use. Next slide, please. Currently, you'll see here the table and code shows that religious assemblies are required to obtain a special use permit, while membership organizations are permitted as an allowed use in the Tahoe mixed use zoning. Next slide. So in conclusion, again, I will emphasize the importance in approving this amendment, which would eliminate any perception of discrimination based on the federal law known as our LUPA, which Jacob referred to, Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act. Staff believes it is imperative that we stay consistent with area plan regulations and federal law. So thank you again, and if you have any questions, Cynthia and I will do our best to answer.
Okay, Kate, thank you so much for that brief summary.
welcome.
Any questions by members of the committee on this item? I'm assuming, Jacob, that there was no opposition to the
Oh.
recommendation.
We've not received any public comments on this item,
Okay, thank you.
letters rather.
All right. Any questions by members of the committee? Any concerns? Okay, then we will go to public comment on this item. Any member of the public wishes to address the committee on this agenda item, please raise your hand now, either in person by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen or by dialing *9 on your phone, and you will be called on and unmuted by a TRPA staff member. I see no one in the audience, but familiar faces. So I'm assuming there's no one here to testify in person for or against. Catherine, anyone online?
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised online to comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close public comment. And if there are no, one more last opportunity for the committee to comment. All right, we will go ahead. I'll entertain a motion to recommend the governing board approve the required findings as described in attachment D, including a finding of no significant effect for adoption of the area plan amendment as described in the staff summary.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the governing board adoption. Is that the one I'm doing?
Yes.
Adoption of ordinance
You
20.
can also just say, since she read the motion, you can
moved.
just say so moved.
All right, so moved. Got in trouble before. I want to make sure I
Thank
was
you,
doing it
Vince.
right.
I stole your thunder. I'm sorry. All right, we have a motion. Maury, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Aldine,
Yes.
Ms. Gustafson,
Yes.
Mr. Honigman.
Yes,
Ms. Dis,
Yes.
Ms. Hill. Madam Chair, that motion passes.
Okay, thank you. But we do have a second motion. So Vince, this is your big chance to adopt the ordinance. Okay, you want me to read it, or would you rather? Go ahead. This be a motion to recommend the governing board adopt ordinance 2023 amending ordinance 2013-05 to amend the Douglas County South Shore area plan as shown in attachment C.
so moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Any comments or questions by any member of the committee? I'm looking at Jessica. I don't see her raising her hand. All right, Mario, will you please call the roll? Oh, public comment on this item. We'll now move to public comment on this item. Again, if any member of the public wishes to comment, please do.
I'm sorry, I think you already did. public
No, we
comment.
did that for the previous.
No, you did for the
Whole item.
whole item.
Was it for the whole entire
Yeah,
item?
not-
Well, we hadn't even proposed the ordinance.
That's okay. You
We
can
don't have
take
any
public
separate
comment
public comment
period
period. Okay,
before
okay,
the-
then we're good to go. Mario, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Honigman,
Yes,
Ms. Gustafson,
Yes.
Ms. Hill, Ms. Dis,
Yes.
Ms. Aldine.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Okay, that brings us to item number 6 on the agenda, possible recommendation of an amendment to Plan Area Statement 100, the Truckee Marsh and Bijou / Isle Tahoe Community Plan to incorporate one parcel into the boundary of the Bijou Isle Tahoe Community Plan as originally approved.
Madam
this-
Chairman, item 5.
Well, my cheat sheet says 6.
Oh,
Okay.
well, we skipped 5.
I think 5 on the agenda is the
146.
amendment to Plan Area 146 Emerald Bay.
Yeah, I'm just following my sheet.
That's fine. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. It's our
that's okay.
mistake.
I should have checked that before I.
No, we should have caught that. What,
No
do you have,
worries.
do we have item 5 on your cheat sheet? Otherwise, do you have your agenda in front of you?
Agenda 5 was supposedly the same one that we just. Oh, the Emerald Bay. Have I
Yeah.
jumped? Maybe they were out of order. Okay.
Yeah.
Possible. Okay, so we're on Emerald Bay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. You're okay. My error. It's the problem when you don't staple the sheets together. Okay. That brings us to agenda item number 5, possible recommendation of an amendment to Plan Area Statement 146 Emerald Bay and the Plan Area Statement 147 Paradise Flat to incorporate 6 parcels into the boundary of the Paradise Flat Plan Area Statement currently located in the Emerald Bay Plan Area Statement, assessors number, parcel numbers 017-041-017, 18, 25, 27, 29, and 31 located in El Dorado County. Information on this agenda item can be found on page 511 of your packet. As a reminder to the public, after committee discussion on this item, you may raise your hand in person to be called on in Zoom, to be unmuted by TRPA staff to share your comments. Okay.
I'll take it away. Good afternoon, members of the committee. Alyssa Bettinger, Senior Long Range Planner with TRPA. The first of two items that I'm bringing forward today is, as Shelley stated, an amendment to the Emerald Bay Plan Area Statement 146 and the Paradise Flat Plan Area Statement 147. And both of the amendments today are map corrections to the boundaries of the local plan documents, which means that we are amending the regional plan or the regional plan map, excuse me. And the reason that we're doing this is that the governing board has taken action on the regional plan map. So any boundary adjustments that we have or that we make has to also be approved by the governing board. Next slide, please. With the 1987 regional plan, TRPA adopted a set of plan area statements that specify how particular areas should be regulated to achieve land use and environmental objectives. Plan area statements and community plans, some of you may know, are sort of our original zoning documents. They predate the area plans that we're moving towards today. Both of the amendments today, I want to note, are focused on plan area statements and community plans. We're not making any changes or any proposed changes to area plans. And as you can see in this slide here, the original plan area maps were drawn based on Mylar maps, and the technology has been updated quite a bit since then. Next slide, please. So this is a kind of a quick snippet of what our geographic information systems look like today. And over time, as we were transitioning from the old Mylar maps to our new systems, there were various errors that occurred. And so today, you will see two different examples of issues that we've identified when moving between the two systems. The first was we incorrectly omitted one of the original Mylar maps when we were digitizing the West Shore. Next slide, please. So you can see in the slide here, the proposed amendment would move 6 parcels from the Emerald Bay Plan Area Statement into the Paradise Flat Plan Area Statement. For reference, this is just north of the DL Bliss State Park boundary and just south of the Rubicon subdivision, Rubicon residential subdivision. Next slide, please. And because one of those original Mylar maps was omitted from the record when the West Shore area was digitized, these parcels were mistakenly included in the Emerald Bay Plan Area Statement, which has a conservation land use designation. Currently, all six of these parcels are built with single family homes that are being used year round. And they've been there for a long time. They've been grandfathered in. But so TRPA considers them legally non-conforming. But because they're included in the Emerald Bay Plan Area Statement, they are classified as summer homes because that's the only residential designation that's allowed in the Emerald Bay Plan Area Statement. It doesn't allow for single family residential homes. So the proposed amendment would move these parcels into the Paradise Flat Plan Area Statement. In that area, the primary land use in that area is residential. I do want to note that none of the allowable uses in either of the plan area documents are changing. It's just simply moving these 6 from one to the other. Next slide, please. The Advisory Planning Commission reviewed this proposal on January 11th and recommended approval to the governing board. And with that, staff does recommend that the Regional Plan Implementation Committee adopt the findings included in Attachment B and adopt the ordinance included in Attachment A. Next slide. And I will pass it back over.
Alyssa, did you want to mention the problem with the errata sheet for this item?
Yeah, thank you. So the initial environmental checklist, there was a glitch in the PDF and the wrong IEC was attached to this. Or actually, this was
for Paradise Flat. Oh, this was,
this
Yeah, it was the
this
next
was
one,
on the
right.
next agenda item, actually. The IEC attached to this item should have been correct.
right, so it was the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan, right? Okay, okay. All right, thank you. Any questions on this item by members of staff? Seems pretty straightforward. I'm assuming, Alyssa, this was an outgrowth of a request for permit that came forward, and that's when it was discovered that these parcels were incorrectly allocated or associated with a plan area, incorrect plan area. Okay, right. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead, John. No. I just had a quick question, Alyssa. Thank you for catching these. And I remember working with those Mylars, how old I am. The Emerald Bay Plan Area Statement, are most of those properties on leased land? Or are they privately owned? The ones that are on the ridge above Emerald Bay? Do you know?
The ones that are being proposed to move,
No, the ones that are remaining that are in that are considered summer homes only.
Yes, absolutely.
primarily they are public parcels. So State Park owns Deal Bliss. Obviously, it's a large component of that area. There's quite a few conservancy properties in that plan area.
And then up on that ridge above Emerald Bay are some homes. And I believe those are on
Right,
public land or on long-term leases, or are they on private?
exactly. So the ones that would be just kind of south of where we're talking about are cabins that are on Forest Service land.
Okay. So no other questions. These are clearly have been used this way for many, many years. I believe one of these was the Huntington parcel from Huntington Railroad, so might have been there a long time. Anyway, thank you.
Any other comments by members of the committee on this item? Again, seems to be pretty straightforward. Okay, seeing that there are no comments by members of the committee, we will now go to public comment on this item. If any member of the public wishes to address the committee on this agenda item, please raise your hand now, either in person by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen or by dialing *9 on your phone, and you will be called on and unmuted by a TRPA staff member. All right, obviously we have no one in the audience interested in speaking. Catherine, anyone online?
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised to comment on this item.
Okay, then we will go ahead and close public comment and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval as Alyssa read the motions already into the record.
Okay, all right, we have a motion.
You want me to go ahead and read them?
Did you read them? Yeah, we'll have to take them separately.
Okay, a motion to recommend approval of the required findings as described in attachment B, including a finding of no significant effect for adoption of the plan area statement amendment as described in the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Any comments on the question? Seeing none, Maury, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Dis,
Yes.
Ms. Gustafson,
Yes.
Mr. Honigman,
Yes.
Ms. Hill, and Ms. Aldine.
Yes,
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
okay.
And I'll follow up then with a motion to recommend adoption of ordinance 2023 amending ordinance 1987 9 to amend the plan area statements as shown in attachment A, exhibit 1.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. We have a motion. Any comments on the question? Hearing none, Mario, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Hill, Ms. Dis,
Yes.
Mr. Honigman,
Yes.
Ms. Gustafson,
Yes.
Ms. Aldine.
Yes,
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
okay, and that brings us now to item 6. Possible recommendation of an amendment to Plan Area Statement 100, the Truckee Marsh and Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan to incorporate one parcel into the boundary of the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan as originally approved by the City of South Lake Tahoe The address is 2833 Lake Tahoe Boulevard, South Lake Tahoe, California, currently located in the Truckee Marsh Plan Area Statement. Assessor's number 06-221-029. Information on this item can be found on page 513 of your packet. As a reminder to the public, after committee discussion on this item, you may raise your hand in person to be called on or in Zoom to be unmuted by a TRPA staff member. Okay, Alyssa.
Thank you. Again, Alyssa Bettinger for the record. The next proposed amendment is a map correction to the Truckee Marsh Plan Area Statement 100 and the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan boundary. Similar to the previous amendment, this is a boundary adjustment to both plan areas. This amendment again would move one parcel from the Truckee Marsh Plan Area Statement to the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan. And for those of you not super familiar with this area, this parcel is just right along US Highway 50 along the bike path. It's across the street, just slightly south from Denny's and the Ross Shopping Center. And just across Trout Creek from Meeks Lumber. It is a vacant parcel. Next slide, please. And the reason that we're bringing this amendment forward is because the parcel was originally included in the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan boundary when the community plan was adopted in 1996. It's also been included within the boundary of the community plan in subsequent amendments previous years. At some point, a mapping error occurred, which moved this parcel into the Truckee Marsh Plan Area Statement. According to a land capability verification that was done in 2001, this parcel is about 50% class 1B or SEZ, and the other half is, or the other approximately 50% is class 7. If the amendment is approved, the parcel would be eligible for the permissible uses in the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan, but the parcel would still be subject to all TRPA standards, including coverage and SEZ protections. Next slide. And just to reiterate, I know that these slides are a little hard to see, but this is our regional land use map. You can see that this parcel is included currently in the conservation designation of the Truckee Marsh Plan Area Statement. And we are proposing to move that, next slide, please, into the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan. You can see on the left-hand side was the map that was included in the adoption materials in 1996. And on the right is an amendment to the Bijou El Tahoe Community Plan, which also includes this parcel back in 2020. And I know that these maps are very hard to see. They're on page 279 and 281 of your governing board packet. Next slide. Again, the Advisory Planning Commission reviewed the proposal on January 11th and recommended approval to the governing board. So with that, staff recommends that the Regional Plan Implementation Committee adopt the findings included in Attachment B and adopt the ordinance included in Attachment A. Now I'll pass it back.
Thank you, Alyssa. And I'm assuming there were no comments, no concerns expressed by members of the public.
We received one public comment about looking at the cumulative impacts of both of these changes.
Given that it was an error.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're not making any, changes to any of our regional plan limits or rules. So we don't feel like there is a cumulative impact with these changes.
Okay, all right. And obviously environmental checklist was prepared and it was deemed to be of no significant effect. Okay. All right. So any questions or comments by members of the committee on this item? All right, then we will move to public comment on this item. If any member of the public wishes to address the committee on this agenda item, please raise your hand now, either in person by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen or by dialing *9 on your phone, and you'll be called on and unmuted by a TRPA staff member. Seeing no members of the public in the audience today, we will move to our virtual members who may be joining us. Catherine, anyone wishing to testify?
Thanks, Madam Chair. John Hitchcock's hand is raised.
Okay,
John, if you unmute, you can address the committee.
good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. For the record, John Hitchcock, Planning Manager, City of South Lake Tahoe. Just wanted to support this amendment. And thank Alyssa for the work that she's done on this, and it'll bring our city zoning and TRPA zoning into consistency with each other. And with that, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Catherine, any other public comment online?
Madam Chair, there are no other hands raised to comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Then we will go ahead and close public comment. And would someone care to make a motion, the first of two motions? And that motion would be to recommend that the governing board approve the required findings as described in attachment B, including a finding of no significant effect for adoption of the community plan and plan area statement amendment as described in the staff report.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Any comments on the question? Mario, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Gustafson,
Yes.
Ms. Dis,
Yeah.
Mr. Honigman,
Yes.
Ms. Hill, Ms. Aldine.
Yes,
Madam Chair, motion passes.
thank you. Okay, and we have a second motion. And that motion is to recommend that the governing board adopt ordinance 2023 amending ordinance 2022-03 as previously amended. The ordinance number 1987-9 to amend the community plan area statement boundaries as shown in attachment A, exhibit 1.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Any comments on the question? All right, seeing none. Mario, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Hill, Mr. Honigman,
Yes.
Ms. Dis,
Yeah.
Ms. Gustafson,
Yes.
Ms. Aldine.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you, Maria. And at long last, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You're good.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. TRPA